everyone, my name is Dr. Chandra Gupta. In this video, I will explain the topic female reproductive system for all the science and medical students. Kindly like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel OBG Made Easy as much as you can. This will motivate me to make more videos on difficult topics so that you all will understand them in a very easy manner. So let's start with the today's topic, female reproductive organ. As you can see from the slide that female reproductive system has been divided into three parts. First is external genitalia, second internal genitalia, and the third one is accessory reproductive organ. Let's start with the external genitalia. External genitalia has again been subdivided into six parts, that is mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, vestibule, clitoris and perineum. You all students, you all must remember these six parts, because sometime in exams it has been asked which part is the organ of external genitalia. Four options will be given, like uterus, fallopian tube, vestibules and vagina. So you must click the vestibule part. So we will discuss external genitalia. Let's see in the next slide. External genitalia. As you all must be knowing that external means outside. That means that these organs are visible on external examination, and the area which contain all these six parts is called vulva or the pudendum. So first is mons pubis. As you can see from the diagram, on the top it is written mons pubis. So it is the front part of the pubis, and generally it is covered with hairs in adult females. After the mons pubis, you can see on both sides of the vulva there is a labia majora. So labia majora, you can see there is a elevation of skin on the both side of the mons pubis, and this contains sebaceous glands, sweat glands and the hair follicles. You can see hair follicles are there. So, and now one most important point, this is homologous to scrotum in male. This question has been asked in the examination. Which part is homologous to scrotum in male? That is labia majora. Now the third part is labia minora. You can see in the diagram just below the labia majora there is labia minora. It is inside the labia majora. So and these are the two folds of skin, and they are divide of fat and hair follicles. So labia minora has no hair follicles. Okay, it's okay. So anteriorly they form the prepuce in the front and the frenulum at the back side. So the lower portion of it forms a fold of skin on the lower side. You can see on the lower side in the diagram, but it is not written the foreshead, but you see the below the labia minora on the lower portion a fold of skin is there, and this is called foreshead. So during the delivery of the baby, this foreshead is ruptured or injured. So this is ruptured during the childbirth. Next point, fourth is clitoris. Clitoris, you can see on the top of the diagram, this is clitoris. It is a small cylindrical erectile body just below the above the labia minora. You can see on the top, above the labia minora, clitoris is there. And this is very important question. It has also been asked in the examination that it is analogous to the penis in male. Now you can see in this slide vestibule is there. See the diagram of the vestibule. This diagram I did not found very clearly either in Google or in the books, so that's why I made it especially for you. So vestibule, a question also has been asked in the exam regarding vestibule. So vestibule, see in the diagram, it is bounded anteriorly by clitoris and posteriorly by fourchette, and on the both sides see there is labia minus. I have written in very bold letters and capital letters. You can see bounded anteriorly by clitoris, posteriorly by fourchette, and on the both sides there is labia minus. And the vestibule has 4 main openings. Yes, 4 main openings are there in the vestibule are present. First is urethral orifice. Second, you can see skin glands, or also they are also called paraurethral glands, skin glands. Third one is vaginal orifice, and the fourth one is Bartholin glands. Bartholin glands is very important. This question has also been asked in the exam. So first is urethral orifice. As you can see, female has 2 main openings, urethral opening and the vaginal opening. From the urethra, urine has been passed, and from the vagina, delivery of the baby occurs. But in male, there is single opening through which the urine passed and also the sperms pass. So in the female, there are 2 openings. Especially, but the vestibule has 4 main openings. First is urethral orifice. Around the urethral orifice, you can see there are a pair of skin glands. The skin glands open in the duct, and this duct opens in the urethral orifice. So skin gland generally they are 2 in number, and they are homologous to prostate gland in male. Very important. Skin gland has been asked. They are homologous to prostate gland in male. Third is vaginal orifice. See vagina. This vagina is incompletely covered by a septum of the mucous membrane. With this is called hymen. Generally, hymen is circular in virgins, but during the childbirth, this hymen generally get ruptured, becomes, or you can say, extremely lacerated, and this laceration results in the formation of cicatrized nodules, and so these cicatrized nodules are called carunculi myrtiformes. A very important carunculi myrtiform. Short note has come in exam about carunculi myrtiforms. So next is Bartholin glands. See around the vaginal orifice there are a pair of Bartholin glands. You can see these Bartholin glands, you can see in the diagram, they open in the Bartholin duct, and this duct opens in the vaginal orifice. So Bartholin glands generally they are yellow white in color, and pea-sized glands are there. So generally these glands secrete a alkaline mucus during sexual excitement, and this results in the lubrication around the vagina. Now the Bartholin gland, one question has been asked a number of times in the exam in objective types. That Bartholin glands, they are corresponds to the bulbourethral glands of the male. Now the 6th part is perineum. As you can see in the diagram, perineum, it is a space between the anus and the scrotum in male, and between the anus and vulva in the female. See in the diagram, perineum. So the perineum, it is a diamond shaped structure between the anus and vulva in female. So perineum, it has 2 parts, anterior urogenital triangle and the posterior anal triangle. And perineum, it has a very important role in functions like micturition, defecation, sexual intercourse and the child birth. Now the perineal tear, which is also called vaginal tear, very important. So this occurs when the head of the baby, which becomes large enough, and when it comes out through the vagina, it causes stretching in the vaginal opening, and this leads to the perineal tear. So in the diagram you can see the first degree perineal tear is not too much large, but the second degree perineal tear, in which the perineal muscles even get torn. So this is the perineal or the vaginal tear. Now I will discuss about internal genitalia. Internal genitalia generally are placed internally, means we cannot see on external examination. As from the slide you can see that internal genitalia has been divided into 4 parts. First is uterus, second fallopian tube, third ovaries, and the fourth vagina. You can see in the diagram that uterus, it is a thick hollow muscular organ. So why it is thick? Because you can see the muscles of the uterus are thick. That's why it is called thick. And hollow because there is a cavity which is present inside the uterus, which is called uterine cavity. And the third is muscular organ. Why it is called muscular? Because it is made up of thick muscles. So uterus, it is a thick hollow muscular organ. It is pyriform or pear in shape. Next, fallopian tube. As you can see, it helps in the transfer and transport of sperm from the ovary to the uterus. Third is ovaries. Ovaries, you can see they are paired sex glands responsible for germ cell maturation, storage and release of follicles, and steroidogenesis. So we will discuss it on later on, how the germ cells mature, how the follicles grow in this ovary part. And the last is vagina. It is the organ of copulation. Next, in the next slide, now we will discuss about the uterus. As you can see in the diagram, uterus is also called womb, situated in the pelvic cavity. It is situated in the pelvic cavity. This question has been asked whether the uterus is situated in the pelvic cavity or the abdominal cavity. So right answer is the pelvic cavity. And it is situated between the unibladder in the front and rectum behind. So in between the unibladder and the rectum, uterus is placed. Normally the weight of the uterus is 30 to 40 gram, and in some books is also written 50 grams approximately. But during the full term pregnancy, its weight becomes 1000 grams. Only this is the only weight of the uterus, not the fetus. So next you can see, as in the diagram, that uterus has been divided into 3 main parts. That is, first is corpus. See in the diagram very clearly, it is seen written. First is corpus, which is also called body. Second is isthmus. Below the corpus is the isthmus, and the third one is cervix. So first, corpus is divided into 2 parts, that is fundus and the body cavity. The length of the corpus is 5 centimeter. Fundus part, you can see in the diagram, it is fundus, dome shaped part of the uterus. So this question has also been asked in the exam. Fundus, how it looks like? It looks like dome shaped part of the uterus. Second, body cavity, which is present below the fundus. So first is the corpus, second isthmus. Isthmus, it is one thing just I want to tell in the corpus, that the wall of the uterus, which is made up of thick smooth muscle cells, and it has 3 layers. from outside to inside. Outside is called perimetrium. Within the perimetrium is the myometrium. Myometrium is the thickest smooth muscle cell of the uterus. And within the myometrium is the endometrium. This endometrium is also very important. Later on when we will discuss about the menstrual cycle, then I will discuss it. So endometrium, this endometrium changes to decidua during pregnancy, because decidua is highly vascular, becomes highly vascular. So endometrium of the pregnant lady is called decidua. Now the isthmus is the part which is situated just below the corpus or below the uterine cavity. Length of the isthmus is 0.5 centimeter. It is the constricted part of the uterus. Next is cervix. Cervix, as I have written in the diagram, length of the cervix is 2.5 centimeter. And cervix is called the neck of the uterus. This has been also asked in the exam. The neck of the uterus. Cervix is the neck of the uterus. As you can see, it is a cylindrical in shape. Cervix is cylindrical in shape. Opens in vagina, and cervix has a number of cervical glands, and secretion of these cervical glands is thick, alkaline and rich in mucoprotein, fructose and NaCl, sodium chloride. So cervical gland secretion is thick, alkaline and rich in mucoprotein, fructose and NaCl. So next we will discuss about the position of the uterus. As we can see, the normal position of the uterus is anteverted and anti-flexed. This question has also been asked a number of times in the exam. Normal position of the uterus is anteversion and anti-flexed condition. So what is the angle of anteversion? Angle of, you can see this is draw very clearly that this is the angle between the cervix and the vagina, and it is a 90-degree angle. So the angle between the cervix and the vagina is called angle of anteversion, and it is a 90-degree angle. Now the angle of anteflexion, you can see very clearly it is drawn. It is the angle between the body of the uterus and the cervix, and it is 170-degree. So this question has also been asked in the exam. The angle of anteversion is the angle 90-degree angle, and the angle of anteflexion is what degree? 170-degree. Now we will discuss the ligaments of the uterus. Very important questions has been asked from the ligament of uterus also. So ligament of the uterus means an attachment to the uterus. So because of these ligaments, the uterus, cervix, ovaries and fallopian tubes are held in its position in this position because of these ligaments. So these ligaments are very important. Later on when we will discuss prolapse of the uterus, then we will tell you why when these ligaments become loose, then uterine prolapse happens. So now ligaments are of two types: primary support or the main ligament, and the secondary support of the uterus. So first is primary ligament. There are three main primary ligaments which support the uterus. First is cardinal ligament, second is pubocervical ligament, third is uterocervical ligament. Second is secondary support to the uterus. The ligament which provides secondary support of the uterus, means that they are not the true ligaments. So the broad ligament and the round ligament, these two ligaments are not the true ligaments. They only provide the secondary support to the uterus. Now you can see the diagram I have especially made it, and one ligament I have not, first I am telling you that the one ligament I am not able to draw because of the, I am not able to show you the three-dimensional vision. So one ligament I have not drawn, I'll tell you later on. So first we will discuss the secondary support to the uterus. Secondary support in this, first we will discuss broad ligament. So broad ligament generally are of four types: infundibulopelvic ligament, mesometrium, mesosalpinx, and meso-ovarian. Now broad ligament, first, as you can see in the diagram, it is very clearly drawn. Broad ligament, they are a double layer of peritoneum. It's like a polythene, double layer of polythene which connects side of the uterus. You can see in the diagram very clearly that this ligament connects the side of the uterus to the lateral wall of the pelvis. This ligament contains blood vessels, nerves, and lymphatics. Okay, this ligament within the double layer of peritoneum, within the peritoneum, it contains blood vessels, nerves, and lymphatics. They are not true ligaments. So this has been divided, broad ligament has been divided into four parts. First is infundibulopelvic ligament, which is also called suspensory ligament of the ovary. So this ligament, this is the part of the ligament which connects the infundibulum. As you can learn easily, infundibulopelvic means infundibulum. Infundibulum is the part of the fallopian tube. So infundibulum, it connects infundibulum of the fallopian tube to the lateral pelvic wall. See in the diagram, fourth point, suspensory ligament of ovary, which is also called infundibulopelvic ligament. And this ligament, within this ligament, there ovarian artery and veins is present. Second one is the mesometrium ligament. In blue color, you can see light blue color. I have drawn it, colored it light blue color. Mesometrium. This is the largest portion of the broad ligament, and this is present below the meso-ovarian ligament. So mesometrium is the largest portion of the broad ligament. Now the mesosalpinx. Mesosalpinx means the fallopian tube. So this ligament, you can see mesosalpinx. This ligament is present below the fallopian tube and above the meso-ovarian ligament. So this ligament is present between the fallopian tube and the meso-ovarian ligament. Now last is meso-ovarian ligament. So to the posterior portion of the broad ligament, ovary is attached with this ligament. So this ligament is present at the posterior part of the broad ligament. So I hope you must have seen this diagram, and it is very clearly drawn and colored with three different colors: red, green, and blue color. And the suspensory ligament of ovary with the dark red color. So I hope you will learn easily. Next is round ligament. This is also not a true ligament, and they are also paired ligament present on both side of the uterus, but I have drawn only on the one side, round ligament. This is, I have draw it in the with red color. So you can see round ligament. They are paired ligament present on each side of the uterus, and this ligament is also situated between the layers of the broad ligament. So between the layers of the broad ligament, you will see the round ligament is also there. So and it connects conua of the uterus to the labia majora. So conua is the place from where the uterus connects with the fallopian tube. You see in the diagram, place where uterus connects with the fallopian tube, and from this round ligaments comes out goes into the inguinal canal, comes out, and then this attaches to the labia majora, round ligament. Now the now we will discuss the true ligaments of the uterus, or you can say main ligament of the uterus. And first is cardinal ligament. Very important question has been asked. The true ligament, one of the true ligament of the uterus, cardinal ligament. Cardinal ligament is also called Mackenrodder's ligament or transverse cervical ligament. Question has been asked again and again about the Mackenrodder's ligament. So this is one of the most important ligament of the uterus, and it attaches the lateral side of the vagina and the cervix to the lateral pelvic wall. See in the diagram, as I have drawn slightly upward, but it connects lateral side of the cervix and the vagina to the lateral pelvic wall, and this ligament contain uterine artery and vein. This question has been asked. Cardinal ligament contain uterine artery and the vein. So this ligaments provide support to the cervix and the vagina. Now pubocervical ligament, I have not able to draw because of the three-dimensional. I cannot show you in the diagram, but try to understand. This ligament attaches cervix to the pubic symphysis. Cervix to the pubic symphysis. So this ligament attaches, as you can see from the name, pubo means pubic symphysis and cervical means cervix. So this ligament attaches pubosymphysis to the cervix. Now the next is uterosacral ligament. This ligament attaches cervix to the sacral bone. This is also a pair of fibrous bands, and that attaches cervix, uterine part of the cervix to the sacral bone.